The courtroom was completely quiet, the kind of silence that makes every small movement feel loud and every word feel heavy. The importance of the moment was obvious to everyone present. Each sentence spoken, each pause between arguments, and each suggestion placed before the magistrate carried real consequences. This was no longer about proving whether Julius Malema was guilty or not. That question had already been answered. What remained was the matter of punishment, and what it would mean for his political future, his public image, and his personal survival. The decision ahead would not simply affect one man. It would shape the direction of his career and send a wider message about power, accountability, and justice. On Friday, at the East London Regional Court, a major development took place when a key figure stepped forward in the legal battle surrounding the economic freedom fighters' leader. She did not rely on dramatic language or political slogans. She spoke calmly, carefully, and with precision. Her name is Jessie Thompson, an experienced lawyer and legal professional tasked with arguing why Malema should not receive a prison sentence. Thompson stood before the court with a structured and deliberate plan. She did not deny the seriousness of the convictions against Malema, but she argued that imprisonment would not be a fair or effective outcome. Instead, she proposed a sentence that would hold him accountable while keeping him out of jail. Her recommendations centered on a substantial fine combined with strict conditions, a punishment that would reflect the gravity of the offenses, but remain suspended if he followed the law. Going forward, in this way, he would be punished but not physically imprisoned. Thompson emphasized that accountability does not exist only inside prison walls. A person can face real consequences without being locked away. Her position was that justice should correct behavior and protect society, not simply impose the harshest possible penalty. She stressed that Malema should answer for his actions, but that incarceration was not the only path to responsibility. She also proposed additional safeguards designed to prevent any similar conduct in the future. Among these was a restriction preventing him from applying for a firearm license for a significant period. That measure, she argued, would serve as both a deterrent and a symbolic reminder that the court was watching his conduct. Thompson further suggested that Malema should make a financial contribution to Gun-Free South Africa, an organization focused on reducing gun violence and promoting safer communities. The logic behind this recommendation was clear. When an offense involves a firearm, part of the sentence should actively support efforts to reduce gun-related harm. In her view, punishment should not only penalize wrongdoing but also contribute to preventing similar incidents in society. While presenting her argument, she referred to the pre-sentencing report and highlighted details about Malema's background, behavior, and personal circumstances. As Malema sat in the dock listening, the discussion extended beyond the incident itself and examined his character, his history, and the broader impact a sentence would have on his political role. The court considered how legal judgment and personal rehabilitation might be balanced. The 5 convictions against him all stemmed from a single incident that occurred in 2018 during EFF birthday celebrations in Duncan Village. That event has since been widely discussed in both public debate and legal proceedings. Video footage from the celebration shows Malema firing a gun into the air while supporters cheered around him, many wearing party berets and celebrating energetically. What once appeared to supporters as a dramatic and symbolic act is now central evidence in a criminal case. Thompson acknowledged again that the convictions were serious, but urged the court to weigh additional factors carefully. One of her strongest points concerned the long delay between the incident and the conviction. She argued that the passage of time matters in sentencing, especially when the accused has not reoffended. According to her, Malema has not committed any further crimes since 2018, despite remaining constantly in the public eye and under intense political pressure. That sustained period without further wrongdoing, she said, is meaningful and should count in his favor. She argued that if a person has years of lawful conduct after an offense, imposing the harshest penalty becomes harder to justify. The absence of repeated behavior suggests reduced risk and supports the case for a corrective rather than purely punitive sentence. She urged the magistrate to consider this clean record since the incident as evidence that he is unlikely to repeat the offense. Thompson also addressed the sensitive issue of Malema continuing to maintain his innocence despite the conviction. Normally, courts may view a lack of expressed remorse as increasing the risk of reoffending. However, she asked the magistrate to interpret his position differently. She argued that MMA fully understands that a conviction damages his credibility as a political leader who publicly claims to support lawful conduct. That awareness alone, she suggested, acts as a powerful deterrent. Even if he disputes the legal conclusion, he recognizes the cost to his reputation and influence. According to Thompson, this understanding reduces the likelihood of future misconduct. She framed his stance not as denial, but as part of a broader political and legal identity conflict, one that still results in meaningful self-awareness. In a notable part of her argument, Thompson discussed MMA's political style. She described him as a revolutionary and confrontational political figure who challenges authority and established systems. She clarified that she was not offering this as an excuse but as context. His political method is disruptive, provocative, and confrontational by nature, which often attracts controversy and legal scrutiny. However, she stressed the critical distinction between political provocation and criminal conduct. Being loud, divisive, or disruptive in politics is not illegal by itself. The law intervenes only when actual legal boundaries are crossed. Activism and confrontation are not crimes unless specific unlawful acts occur. She urged the court not to confuse political style with criminal intent. Thompson further argued that the 5 convictions should be viewed together as outcomes of a single episode rather than treated as multiple unrelated crimes. Considering them separately, she warned, could unfairly exaggerate the severity of the conduct. She also noted that the available video evidence indicates MMA did not personally load the firearm, a detail she believes should be included in the court's evaluation, looking at the incident as one event that escalated badly rather than a pattern of repeated criminal behavior. Supports a more measured sentence. She encouraged the court to apply proportionality and context when deciding punishment. Shifting focus to MMA's personal history, Thompson described his upbringing and strong family ties. She portrayed him as someone shaped by hardship but strengthened by it, supported by close family relationships that continued to guide him. These personal foundations, she argued, contributed to his rise from difficult beginnings to leadership of a major political party. She described him as resilient, mentally strong, and capable of reflection and growth. These qualities, in her view, support rehabilitation rather than imprisonment. At 44 years old, this is his first criminal conviction connected to conduct that occurred when he was 37. Over the years since, he has complied with legal processes, appeared in court when required, and cooperated with authorities. He did not flee, hide, or show contempt for the court. Thompson emphasized that punishment is not limited to prison. Public conviction brings reputational damage, prolonged uncertainty, emotional strain, and social consequences. These forms of suffering are real, even if they are not physical confinement. She reminded the court that pain can be psychological and symbolic, not only material. The stress of a long legal battle, the damage to public standing, and the risk to a political career all carry weight. Taken together, she argued, these factors showed that Malema has already experienced meaningful consequences and is unlikely to repeat the behavior. Rehabilitation and structured accountability, she said, would benefit society more than incarceration. When she finished, the state prosecutor, Joel Caesar, rose to question her position, signaling that the prosecution opposes a lenient sentence. For the state, the case represents more than one individual. It is about deterrence and public